Okay, I'm just downloading our introduction to the relaunch because I realized that I didn't actually do an update the next day because I went and I did my celebration. Um, so we have got Joy Ambition, and this is the evolution of all of the work that I've been doing with my community in my coaching. And the relaunch, the rebrand, everything was done in less than 24 hours. So I'm going to do a summary of all of this and share it with you. But what I want to share is just the beauty of deciding something can be easy. That is pretty much the only tool. I mean, I've used lots and lots of tools, but it's the main tool that I've been using for the last couple of days to just stay centered and stay focused and to really just stay in that place of calm. Because normally what happens is we set a deadline, right? We say we want to do something by a certain period. And as the time gets closer and the window to completion gets smaller, we start to get panicky and we start to take reactive decisions or we doubt ourselves. Whereas when we stay open to possibility, the possibility that we can, that anything can happen and that it can be even better than we have imagined in our heads, it keeps us in this space of play, right? Um, and this morning when I was walking Rita, I just really thought about it's tool number 7, I think. There's 9 tools inside the Joy Ambition method. And focus, I think it's 7 or I'm not 100% sure, but focus is how we create balance, right? So anytime that we don't feel balanced, and that can be in your business, right? Let's say that you have a product and you have validation, but you don't have enough clients. So the thing that is out of balance is going to be your marketing and getting in front of new people, right? Or it might be that you're spending all of your time delivering. Okay, so you've got people who are interested, but you can't serve them because you're constantly creating and delivering. That's what we rebalance. Maybe it's literally in your body, right? Last month, when I didn't feel great in my body, I really slowed down and I thought about, okay, what does it need? And I ate a lot of porridge. That's why I'm a porridge ninja now, because I got really bloody good at making porridge. And my body just needed to rest. It needed that like warm, comforting, easy to digest food. I created a Vata dosha vegan, sustainable, minimal energy use meal plan with ChatGPT, my friend, and slept a lot and took like very slow, calm walks with Rita, my dog. So finding our focus and then, or rather deciding, so it might be finding our focus or it might be deciding what our focus is when we have a goal or project, as I like to call them. The work then is to redirect and redirect and redirect until we achieve it or we've got enough data that tells us we want to do something else. Now, the way that I would compare this is to thinking about driving or riding a bike, right? When you first learn to ride a bike or you first get in a car, um, actually staying focused on looking ahead of you is really, really important skill. And I know because I grew up in North Wales and had a very like squirrel brain and I was constantly looking around me and looking at different things. So my driving instructor, we spent 3 lessons just driving. North Wales is on the coast, like a lot of the UK, as it's an island. Um, and so you can drive around the whole country. Okay, so we would go along the promenade and drive along it, practicing going in a straight line until we got to the end, drive back, do it again. Until it got to the point where I was able to just look ahead and focus, right? And then I could start to have a conversation as well. And it just became integrated. So, what you want to think about is whatever it is that you're trying to create and it feels difficult, the only reason it's difficult is because you haven't made it your focus. So if you're struggling to make money, it's because it hasn't been your focus. It hasn't been your priority. Now, there are all kinds of different reasons for that. And that's where coaching helps us to identify what's actually going on in our subconscious, what's driving those things. If you don't have love, right? And the relationship that you want to have, if you don't have the friendships that you want to have, if you don't have the wellness in your body, okay, very often that's because it hasn't been a priority, right? It's because there have been other things, work. Now, I'm not saying if you have any kind of ongoing illness, right, something that's chronic, you don't just focus your way out of that, obviously. But we have to say, many of us, our health starts to be deprioritized the moment other things come up. And often it's only when we get sick that we make our health a priority. Okay, and then we're like, we're really good, we really look after ourselves, and then it starts again. Okay, unless we intentionally integrate prioritizing it, and it just becomes who we are. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm not sure how I'm going to share these things with you yet. First up, I'm going to do the Instagram post to say we're open, we're live, but I'm just going to read you, I'm going to share it with you, right? I'm really excited. So, number one, joy ambition. Joy ambition is a method, a practice, and a play space. And that is an evolution of before because we used to talk about the coaching studio being a work and play space. And I've removed the work because it's all play. The more we lean into how everything can be play and everything can be fun, that doesn't mean it's easy, right? Doesn't mean it's easy, okay? But the more we get into that creativity, the more joy we create and the more we have that ripple effect on our world. The method, number one, step one, create space for what you want. So you'll get a couple of tools that teach you how to create space, whether that is creating space physically around us or it's creating space. Just my little check because, I can see all my laundry and everything in the background. I didn't mean to film this video, but there we go. So physical space, stuff around us, digital space, and of course, mental space. That's the most important thing. So there's different tools for how to do that, setting boundaries, taking decisions, adapting to the seasons, just all of these different things that I love. And I love this part, the creating space, because for me, that is the magic, because that is the place where you are touching trust. You're really bringing trust in. When we start to create space, we are trusting that something else is going to come, that it will be this or something better. And that really takes bravery. When we talk about courage, we talk about bravery, very often people think it's doing something, hustly or risky or, whatever. They have this idea in their head. But for me, bravery and courage is saying, this is not me. This is not what I believe in. This is not what I want. I believe that there is more. When that's coming from an authentic place and it's not like, oh, I want a nicer jumper, right? But it is saying, no, I want to have this human experience. I want to see how it feels to have everything, right? To have, in a partnership, to have that communication and also that energy share and to feel like you're going on an adventure together, right? Instead of just bits of it, whether that's with the person that you're with and the vulnerability, the courage is to have that conversation with them and see if that's what they want to, right? I've been there, okay? I've been there and actually it's not what they wanted and it hurts, but it clears space for what the other person out there, people, because guys, there's a lot of people out there, to find that person and for them to also come in, right? So there is this like magic of the trust that I love it. Step two, invest in yourself. So this is where we really look at how are you setting yourself up so that your brain, your most powerful tool, you do not have a more powerful tool. There is not a more powerful ChatGPT, AI, computers. They are not as astonishing as your brain. Not Stephen Hawking brain, just a standard human brain. Standard human brain, okay? A standard human brain is like a dog's nose. It just automatically has all of these incredible things that it can do. Now, most of us are really making it work very hard, right? We're stressing it out by not sleeping, we're overstimulating it with food, with our environment, with, online stuff, with allowing repetitive thoughts or whatever, okay? And it's already like it's doing its best. So when you start to say, hey, wait a minute, I've got this incredible piece of equipment here, that I'm not even trying to use. Like I haven't even been experimenting with it yet. Then you're going to start to see some astonishing things. So, how we prioritize looking after ourselves and getting our brain to work is we start to invest in ourselves. We start to see that I have got this incredible tool, this incredible asset. What happens when I start to do all the things that help it to work better? Looking after my body, setting boundaries, doing all those things that we talked about with creating space, and then up leveling them even more. So again, there's a couple of tools that I teach there. There's three main tools inside the model. Step three is decide and do. Now, I used to call this activate belief, but I just think that's a bit fluffy. So, what we're doing, we're deciding, right? When you decide to do something, it's happening. It might end up resulting in a failure, right? Might fall flat on our faces, and that's absolutely fine. You know, I shared the other week that I had this realization when I did, it wasn't the other week, it was on Saturday, when I did the handstand class in my yoga studio. I had no expectations to do a handstand, none. I honestly thought my body was too heavy, that I'd just like crush my own arms. And I got to a certain point of doing it, which I suspect was sort of about here. And you kind of, when you do a handstand, you almost have to go like almost a little bit over. And then when you start to go over, you get this like feeling because your center of gravity moves. And I got to that point with my own body and then with the support of my teacher, my classmates. And I realized, for me to do this, first, I have to learn how to fall because right now I'm scared of falling. And because I'm scared of falling, my brain is blocking me, right? So actually, the next step is learning how to fall, okay? So that is why one of the things we want to do is we want to get comfortable with falling, right? My coach said to me at the end of when I did the 15-hour work mastermind, she said, like, you need to learn how to take a hit, okay, for your next level. You're so scared of getting punched that you need to learn how to take a hit. So that was my job for the next month was basically learning how to get punched. And by the end of that many failures, I realized that, okay, punch, it takes a second you actually recover in a second. And it's actually more like, you know, tipping a bucket of ice over your head rather than having it hovering over you. Okay, that's another analogy that she used that just resonated with me because for years until I started to use coaching tool, I was that person that would have had it and been like, oh, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. And now I'm like, do it. Okay. And then we move on. Then you can start to get warm. So that's what we're doing with this taking decisions and then doing. And so, again, this is because life balance, joy, ambition as a lifestyle, as a practice, it is active. We are always either moving forward or we're moving backward, right? We're either building trust or we're losing trust. Nothing is stagnant. Okay, so we want to be deciding how we want to balance. So that's it. You might see it on Instagram. So we have the method, you learn the method, and then we practice it, right? So again, just as in yoga, and I'm using yoga as an example because that's something I'm very proud of, is how many of our members have started doing things like yoga to look after themselves and have started prioritizing these classes and going to a studio. So I think that's really where I see the joy ambition for life and joy ambition for business fitting into your life is it's the thread that weaves everything together and it's how you're able to do all of the things that you want to do without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling stressed, without feeling hustly. So when we have a practice, if you think about it, it's like the difference between watching a YouTube video that teaches you how to do sun salutations, right? You look at them, you watch it, you're like, very good, you do it on your own. If you're like me, you do half of them and then your dog wanders onto the yoga mat and then you huff and puff, try and get your dog off the yoga mat, and then you give up and you wander off for a cup of tea. Okay, versus doing it in the studio where everyone around you, they're either ahead of you and you're feeling inspired by them, or they're behind you and you're like, oh, okay, I'm a bit better than I thought I was. And then usually they surprise you by doing something like really impressive that you didn't expect later on. And you're like, humbled again. And having your teacher spot you and help you to find your edge and to push you beyond your edge. You know, there was a moment for me yesterday in my yoga class where my teacher literally, like, I mentioned it, but I don't know how to describe it. So I was like leaning forward to get like flat legs and start practicing leaning forward, and she was like, give me your palm." And she pulled it, and for a few seconds, I was able to go that bit further. Now, as soon as she let go, I went back to where I was, right? But my body has now experienced going that far, and it is going to be that little bit easier next time to do that by myself. And that will transfer into my practice and into my life. So that's why we have this model of the online play space, so that you can come, you can get coached by me, you can get coached by, you know, your peers, your community members, because everybody's at a slightly different point on the journey, and we're all helping each other, right? And it is just, it's a different experience when you go and have a practice in a studio space. So what have we got inside the platform and inside the app? So this is how it's designed to make it easy for you to build your practice. Living, breathing play space. We have monthly focuses, weekly calls to connect and create together. If you are in joy ambition for business. Um, my favorite thing about this is that Tuesdays, because we're practicing 3 day week as like a base level thing. So the first thing you'll do is create your 3 day week, and then you can decide if you want to do a 2 day week or a 1 day week, or, you know, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, or whatever. But it's like a starting point, because I think once you have created a 3 day week and you've changed your relationship with time and how you create success and manage your energy, you feel pretty unstoppable, and you know that you can do anything else. So I just think it's a nice exercise to start with, to have that as your base level. So those are the flow and glow working sessions on Tuesday. I think we're doing 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. And what will happen is I'll teach a small workshop, and then we take action together. So we do flow and glow working, which is a way of working in little bursts. And you really, like, you're going to take the action steps on the call. We do it together, okay? And then there's a journal, the Joy Ambition journal, like, super fun. And then the final thing I want to share is our community, okay? Our community, I always forget to share this, and I'm not going to from now on. We are global. Something I am very proud of is that we have in our community. So I worked as an English teacher. I was teaching business English and then like pronunciation and communication for a long time, 7 years, 8 years. And the platform that I was mostly teaching on was global. So it meant that I was in a very unique position of having worked with like people from, I think, 27 countries. And so what I've done with building the first iterations of Joy Ambition was invited them. And so that means that we have this foundation of like 27 different countries and cultures in a world that people would have you believe is more and more fractured and fragmented. We are not, right? And my vision for this is really that I'm getting coaching tools into the hands of people in 27 countries and more. I had a look, there's like 197 or something like that. So we're just starting. And then that you guys are then the ambassadors, and you're able to learn how to use the tools, model having an amazing life, so that other people also want to join. Okay. And then they have a ripple effect and a ripple effect and a ripple effect. And that's the whole point of Joy Ambition. So, gorgeous humans, the rest of it is the pricing and what's included, but you can take a peek at that. And I just want to share the final thought, the final slide, which is that each moment is new. You get to choose to have a blank canvas of possibility and to paint on it with play, possibility, more possibility. I didn't realize I'd written that twice, but why not? Creativity and joy. And that I hope you will join us. So maybe I'll share this first, and then I'll put together our 24-hour pivot party, 22-hour pivot party afterwards. But yeah, if you've got questions, I would love to hear them. And I'd like to know what you think of the rebrand. Yeah, fun.